What's going on, pensters, and welcome to my new series where I break down the most recently released episodes of BFDI, with this edition being TPOT 20. If you're new here, consider subscribing, and without further ado, let's break down TPOT 20, shall we? The episode starts off on a mysterious planet where 9 is seen skateboarding with a bunch of skateboard aliens. After their skateboarding session is finished, the amigos set up a fire and begin roasting marshmallows with... what's even in these buckets? Dog shit? Skateboard, use your manners when eating. How fucking rude. 9 then starts reminiscing to the skateboards about how his life with the Algebraliens used to be before something crazy happened. But as he's doing so, guess who's spying him from afar? Flashback 16 years to 2009, where we see all the Algebraliens living happily together on the Equation playground. 14, you're not supposed to be eating people's skin, you little prick. As everyone is playing with each other, 1 is trying to find someone she can play with, but to no avail. Oh yeah, and we got ourselves a new intro, which, in all honesty, sorta reminds me of SB129 from SpongeBob. As 1 goes on a depressing walk, a yoyolite hits a rocky mountain. 1 goes to inspect the yoyolite before she starts kicking it multiple times like it's a football. 1, you're not Adam Vinatieri. The yoyolite then breaks into multiple pieces, leading to 1 playing around and experimenting with it. After realizing the yoyolite's powers and how popular it could make her, 1 decides to tell 3 about it. As 1 demonstrates the yoyolite's powers to 3, the two start to form a nice little bond, agreeing to share the yoyolite together. After a whole night of fun, the two decide to go to bed.
The next day,
1 wakes up to find all the Algebraliens gone. As 1 walks up the rocky mountain, she finds all the Algebraliens playing with the yoyolite's powers. 1 now feels betrayed, and now she's gonna get her revenge. While the other Algebraliens start to take shelter during a thunderstorm, 1 appears in the most cliche way that a person can appear during a storm. 3 tries to get 1 to join them, but 1 is like, "Bitch, you betrayed me! This was our dirty little secret!" 3 tries to defend herself by saying how selfish it would be if the two of them just kept the powers to themselves. But 1 refuses to listen and continues to have a pencil-esque tantrum, which then leads to 3 essentially telling 1 to fuck off. At this, 1 snaps, and before you know it, holy crap, she just killed 3! 1 tries to defend herself, this time by going on a Joker-esque tirade, and even tries to bring 3 back to life, only for 3 to be recovered looking as if she had just been raped. 1 goes back to the yoyolite to retrieve more powers, but to her misfortune, there's no more. Suddenly, 4 pops up and says to her, "Bitch, time for you to go to jail." 1 tries to rebuttal, but 4, still having the mindset of, ultimately decides to lock 1 up in the moon. 6-7 reference! The Algebraliens then transport 1 to the moon and seal her up, all while she vows revenge on all of them.
the next day,
The Algebraliens agree that they can't be together in fear of 1 breaking out of the moon and stealing all their powers at once. And with 4 holding most of the yoyolite's powers, they agree to transfer most of 4's powers to 2, knowing that 1 would immediately go after 4 if, again, she broke out of the moon. Finally, 6 agrees to stay on and guard the Algebraliens' planet. At this, the rest of the Algebraliens say their goodbyes, 4 creates the forest, and teleports 3 inside of him. As the years go by, 1 continues to try and find ways to break out of the moon, but to no avail. We then get flashbacks to BFB 8 when Donut dragged Earth onto the moon, BFB 30 with 4 observing the moon, and TPOT 7 when lightning's crash out caused a crack in the moon, and how all these events led to one's escape from the moon in TPOT 9. Once she escapes, she first observes 2 hanging out with the failed debuters, before turning her attention to Foreign X holding the hotel doors open for Eraser and Pen. Also, notice how Eraser pushed X out of the way, but Pen didn't. My god, what an angel Pen is. One continues to be observant of the contestants, Algebraliens, and Exiters over the next many months, all the way up until TPOT 12, where she of course kidnaps Bommy and Belle after their eliminations. After setting up her dimension, along with creating her contract and a doorway to the equation playground, she makes the 2 imagine what it would be like if they were alone in the same way that she once was, and has them sign her contract in order to ensure nothing like this happens to them. After one transports the 2 of them to her field, she then travels back to the Algebraliens' planet, where she notices 6 being the only one living there, all alone. At this, one begins to execute her plan. We then see more flashbacks of her getting Fanny and Ice Cube to sign contracts, as well as kidnapping Basketball. And it's revealed that during this time, she went on a manhunt looking for the other Algebraliens. But while going on this manhunt, she started watching old BFDI episodes, taking down notes on certain characters like Pencil and Leafy. All of this leads to her next move, where it's revealed that she kidnapped Leafy during the storm in Teapot 13 and incapacitated her. Although, to be fair, we kinda already figured that was the case. We then get more flashbacks before we see one kidnapping Needle and Barf Bag after their eliminations in Teapot 13. After threatening the 2 of them, she gets them to sign her contract before teleporting them to the fields as well. Fast forward to after the events of Teapot 15, one now shifts her focus onto Leafy.
What the? Fiery! No!
What
Fiery!
the? Fiery! No! Fiery!
Damn, what a bitch move. This takes us to the best part of the episode, where one begins to present her contract to Leafy, only for Leafy to call her out for being mean. Leafy then pulls out her niceness scale and explains why one is at the bottom, as well as why she is 0.5 in her rankings. Leafy, if you're gonna have yourself at 0.5, sweetie, please at least put Pen at number 1. As Leafy calls one a lost cause, one loses her shit and starts firing lasers at Leafy. Leafy, continuing to prove herself as a number 1 rage baiter, retaliates back by stabbing one's chair. The 2 continue to fight, Leafy becomes friends with a book, and one, finally being fed up with Leafy, tells her to get out and teleports her away. It's then revealed that Leafy was teleported to the campground that we saw in Teapot 19, and she walks into the tent to wait patiently for Fiery. Speaking of Teapot 19, fast forward to the events of that episode, and we see that after one blasted Pencil away, she did, in fact, send Pencil back to the past, specifically back to the very first episode of BFDI. Which means that Pencil's selfish needs of going back to the past did come true, and as stated by one on this letter, if things go wrong, she can use this device to travel back to present day, meaning that if things do in fact go wrong, Pencil's selfish needs were all for naught, and it came at the cost of her giving an evil mastermind all the powers to rule the universe. One then flies over to the moon, ready to trap 4 inside. Despite his best efforts demanding to be let go, one doesn't give a crap and says to him, "See you in 14 years," and seals him up, kicking the moon back into space when it's all said and done. Finally, we cut back to the beginning of the episode where one says, "Found you," and destroys Nine's planet. As Nine is wondering what the hell just happened, he sees one. He tries to run away, but he's helpless. One has a hold of him, and she's off to do who knows what to him, ending yet another episode of Teapot on a cliffhanger. We then cut to the stinger, where we pick up from loser and winner's emotional reunion during Teapot 19's stinger. As the two of them try to fiddle around with the recovery center, Fiery Jr. gets revived from loser's torch, and upon seeing the two, proclaims how he's surrounded by losers and winners. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna try and do a review for each new BFDI episode moving forward. So until next time, Pensters, take care of yourselves.